The purpose of this project is to provide a research resource for those looking to go beyond the narratives presented in a media landscape of fake news, corrupt institutions, and government censorship and propaganda, by presenting media published from a wide range of sources contemporaneous to events, so you can make up your own mind on what happened and why. In the wake of the failed assassination attempt of former US President Donald Trump on July 13, 2024, we began researching events leading up to the shooting of the then Republican Party's presumptive nominee for the 2024 presidential election. At the beginning of the year, incumbent President Joe Biden argued Trump remains a threat to democracy. Several months earlier, Biden issued warning over Trump's threats to democracy. In September of 2022, Biden says Trump extremism threatens the very foundation of our republic. In 2020, Hillary Clinton, who opposed Trump in the 2016 presidential election, maintains the election was not on the level and that we still don't know what really happened. In 2019, Clinton labels Trump an illegitimate president in multiple television interviews, suggesting he stole the 2016 presidential election. In November of 2017, Clinton claims there are lots of questions about the legitimacy of Trump's election. 2 months earlier, Clinton opens the door to questioning legitimacy of the 2016 election. In the run-up to the 2016 US presidential election and after Trump's victory, allegations were made of his ties to Russia and collusion with the Russian government. In August of 2016, House Democrats asked FBI to probe alleged Trump-Russian ties on hacking. And in March 2017, info suggests Trump associates may have coordinated with Russians, according to US officials. In July of 2016, Politico reports on Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign manager, Robbie Mook's comments in an interview on CNN that the leak of the Democratic National Committee's emails the previous week were an effort from the Russians to help Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, according to experts. In August, the New York Times reports on a public letter Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid sent to the FBI Director James Comey, claiming the threat of Russian interference is more extensive than is widely known and may include the intent to falsify official election results, according to recent classified briefings from senior intelligence officials. In September, Yahoo News reports that US officials are seeking to determine whether Carter Page, an advisor to Donald Trump for President 2016 campaign, had opened up private communications with senior Russian officials. Senior members of Congress had been advised of Page's activities during briefings on suspected Russian election interference efforts prior to Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid's letter to FBI Director Comey last month. In his letter, Reid had referenced meetings between Page and high-ranking Russian-sanctioned individuals. According to a well-placed Western intelligence source, US officials have received intelligence reports that Page had recently met with longtime Putin associate and former Prime Minister Igor Sheshin, who was sanctioned by the Treasury Department in 2014, as well as Igor Dikovin, Deputy Chief for Internal Policy, according to the Western intelligence source. On October 11th, the New York Times reports on comments from Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, following the release by WikiLeaks of thousands of his emails, claiming Russian intelligence officials intent on swaying the election to Donald Trump had been responsible for the illegal breach into his email account. October 30th, CBS News reports on a public letter Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid sent to FBI Director Comey the same day, accusing the FBI chief of holding back explosive information about Donald Trump's close Russian ties, whilst possibly violating the Hatch Act by reviving the Clinton email investigation. In the letter, Reid claims FBI Director Comey possesses explosive information about close ties and coordination between Donald Trump, his top advisors, and the Russian government, and that Comey is resisting calls to inform the public of this critical information. The following day, Mother Jones reports a former senior intelligence officer for a Western country who specialized in Russian counterintelligence says he has provided the FBI with information collected from his Russian sources in recent months, contending the Russian government has for years tried to co-opt and assist Trump, and that the FBI requested more information from him. The FBI did not respond to Mother Jones. However, a senior US government official, not involved in the case but familiar with the former spy, tells Mother Jones he has been a credible source with a proven track record of providing reliable, sensitive, and important information to the US government. In June, the former Western intelligence officer was assigned to opposition research on Trump's dealings in Russia and elsewhere in his role at a US firm that gathers information on Russia. What started off as a fairly general inquiry became troubling. According to the former spook's sources, he says there was an established exchange of information between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin of mutual benefit. Concluding the information he had collected on Trump was sufficiently serious, the former spy who consults with US agencies on Russian matters regularly sent the report he had produced for his employer to a contact at the FBI. The former intelligence officer supplied Mother Jones with the reports he had produced, including one based on a Russian source claiming the Russian regime had been cultivating, supporting, and assisting Trump for at least 5 years. AIM, endorsed by Putin, has been to encourage splits and division in Western alliance. That Trump and his inner circle have accepted a regular flow of intelligence from the Kremlin, including on his democratic and other political rivals, and that Russian intelligence had compromised Trump during visits to Moscow and could blackmail him. Additionally, it reported the Russian intelligence had compiled a dossier on Hillary Clinton based on bugged conversations she had on various visits to Russia and intercepted phone calls. The FBI's response to this information in August was shock and horror, according to the former intelligence officer, with a request for him to pass over to the FBI all information he had accumulated, to explain how he had obtained it, and to identify his sources. Responding to several memos, he then continued to share information with the FBI. It's quite clear there was, or is, a pretty substantial inquiry going on, he says. This is something of huge significance, way above party politics. There is widespread concern in the US intelligence community that Russia is attempting to undermine the presidential election of 2016 via hacking, according to several national security experts, and the hacks appear to have been designed to benefit Trump. The same day, Slate reports on a small, tightly knit community of computer scientists from cybersecurity firms, academia, with close ties to the three-letter federal agencies, considering itself the benevolent posse that chases off rogues and rogue states. The group speculated, in response to claims Russian hackers had infiltrated a Democratic National Committee made by cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike, they might very well be attacking other entities central to the presidential campaign, including Donald Trump's many servers. According to one of these scientists, he found what looked like to be malware from Russia being sent to a domain with Trump in the name, later identifying the source as a Russian bank and a destination a server registered to the Trump organization. After reviewing the server's DNS activity, the researchers dismissed the initial fear of a malware attack, based on the activity resembling the pattern of human communication, beginning during New York office hours, continuing into Moscow office hours, leading the researchers to conclude this was a sustained relationship between a server registered to the Trump organization and two servers registered to Alpha Bank. According to Christopher Davies of cybersecurity firm HYAS InfoSec Inc., the server was first registered to Trump's business in 2009, its activity ultimately convincing the researchers that the server did indeed belong to Trump himself. The group passed the DNS logs to Paul Vixie, the highest authority of DNS experts, who after studying the logs concluded, the parties were communicating in a secretive fashion. The operative word is secretive. This is more akin to what criminal syndicates do if they are putting together a project. The scientists had attempted to publicize their research in September, around the time the New York Times reporters began chasing their currently unpublished story. The following day, Hillary Clinton's official Twitter account posted a statement referencing the Slate article, stating that this secret hotline may be the key to unlocking the mystery of Trump's ties to Russia. On November 7th, a day prior to the presidential election, Heat Street reports that according to two sources with links to the counterintelligence community, the FBI was granted a FISA court warrant in October, giving permission to examine the activities of US persons in Donald Trump's presidential campaign with ties to Russia. The warrant was granted in connection with suspected activity between a server and two banks. It is thought that the warrant covers any US person connected to the investigation, thus covering Donald Trump and at least 3 other people associated with his campaign. An initial FISA application from the FBI was denied in June. However, the FBI was reportedly alarmed at Carter Page's trip to Moscow and meetings with Russian officials a week before the DNC was hacked. The FISA court exists to grant warrants for approval of electronic surveillance, physical search, and other investigative actions for foreign intelligence cases. Donald Trump to become the 45th US president with stunning victory over Democrat Hillary Clinton, despite months of polling that favored Mrs. Clinton, reports the BBC the day after the election. On December 9th, the Washington Post reports that the CIA has concluded that Russia intervened in the 2016 election to help Trump win the presidency, rather than just to undermine confidence in the US electoral system, according to officials briefed on the matter. According to US officials, intelligence agencies have identified individuals with connections to the Russian government who provided WikiLeaks with the Democratic National Committee's hacked emails. It is the assessment of the intelligence community that Russia's goal here was to favour one candidate over the other to help Trump get elected, said a senior US official briefed on an intelligence presentation made to US senators. On January 6, 2017, the Los Angeles Times reports that Russian President Vladimir Putin personally ordered an intelligence operation against a US presidential campaign and ultimately sought to help Donald Trump win the White House, according to a new US intelligence report released the same day. Putin aspired to help Trump and harm Clinton with leaks of pilfered emails and other covert activities, the report concludes. The report states Moscow's goals were to undermine public faith in the US democratic process, denigrate Secretary Clinton, and harm her electability and potential presidency. Further assessing, Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump. However, no evidence has been found of tampering with actual voting or ballot counting has been found. The public release of 14 pages offers a largely circumstantial case rather than hard evidence of Putin's direct involvement, and mostly focuses on Russian propaganda efforts. However, the full report remains classified. The release of an official intelligence report marks a sharp escalation in what has become a bare-knuckle fight between Trump and the US intelligence community backed by President Obama. On January 10th, BuzzFeed News publishes a dossier of unverified explosive allegations that the Russian government have gained compromising information on President-elect Donald Trump after cultivating, supporting, and assisting him for years, which has been circulating among elected officials, intelligence agents, and journalists for weeks. The collection of memos making up the dossier includes specific, unverified, and potentially unverifiable allegations of contact between Trump aides and Russian operatives, and graphic claims of sexual acts documented by the Russians. BuzzFeed News publishes the full document so that Americans can make up their own minds about allegations about the president-elect that have circulated at the highest levels of the US government. The author, understood to be a former British intelligence agent, prepared the documents for political opponents of Trump. As well as being unconfirmed, it includes clear errors. The documents were reported on by Mother Jones on October 31st, having acquired a kind of legendary status amongst journalists, lawmakers, and intelligence officials who have seen them. Former Senate Democrat leader Harry Reid had seen the documents before he wrote a public letter to the FBI Director James Comey about Trump's ties to Russia. CNN reports that Republican Senator John McCain had provided a full copy of the memos to Comey, and that the FBI already had copies of many of the memos. FBI Director Comey confirmed the agency's counterintelligence investigation into possible coordination between the Trump campaign and the Russian government beginning late July 2016. In congressional testimony Monday, March 20th, reports Yahoo News. In a prepared opening statement, Comey told members of the House Intelligence Committee, "I've been authorized by the Department of Justice to confirm that the FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. That includes investigating the nature of any links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government, and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts." Comey testified that he hadn't notified Congress about the investigation until recently because of its sensitivity. The FBI director, along with NSA director Mike Rogers, disputed President Trump's contention that his predecessor, President Barack Obama, had wiretapped him, stating they had no information to support Trump's claim. See a list of all sources referenced in this video below. Follow along as we dive into each of the allegations in more detail. Thank you for watching.